insanely green juice. This is the greenest juice you've ever seen in your whole life. Hey, Dennis. I bet I say hey to people and they're not actually hearing me. I'm just like talking to people and they can't actually hear me until they've actually tuned in. So I'm just saying hey to everyone. I said hi to you all individually, but maybe it's not showing up. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Dennis. I'm like well into Liana's commitment. She's driving. This is great. Oh, I've got my coffee. Got my green juice. That's my day almost sorted. So I was going to talk about congruence today, and I've just at the last minute sort of changed my mind. So I'm not, this is going to be a little bit less, I haven't really planned where this is going to go. Hey, Giorgio. I think I said that right. I haven't really planned how this is going to go because I changed my mind at the last minute. But I've got some ideas because initially I wanted to talk about congruence. But then when I was thinking about it, I was like, congruence isn't really it's related to creating a launchable ad as much as delivery is. So that's what I'm talking about today, the delivery of the ad. And I think I wanted to, I was tempted to go down the route of congruence because it's much more about copywriting, whereas delivery is all about presenting. And I think I've really shied away from the delivery side of things because people see me as a copywriter. And so I feel like I should be giving a lot of copywriting strategy and tips and support. I'm just going to mute that in case we get more arrivals. So I didn't want to, I've kind of not wanted to veer off from copywriting, but I mostly teach people how to write video ads. So I suppose that and also I think the way that I teach applies more to video ads because I think that there's more of an interactive element than just like pay-per-click stuff. If I was to write a pay-per-click ad, I would teach completely different writing skills than what I teach in scripting. So today I'm going to talk about delivery of an ad, and this is a bit of I think the reason why I've avoided talking about the delivery as well is because with me specifically, I didn't learn how to deliver a message. I am naturally quite competent at that. I don't actually use scripts, so that's really interesting. At the moment, I'm refining and improving my ads, but my launchable scripts tend to be, or my launchable ads tend to be, I think about a concept, an idea, I think about the product, I learn it a lot. So it's a lot of research as well. Like I'm really researching and understanding and brainstorming, and then I just go. And I've had some good results from just doing that. And that's how I like to do it. And then I get that feedback loop. So to talk just about copywriting and scripting is actually a bit out of alignment with what I actually do myself, my actual practices. But I know that within the digital marketing space, a lot of people are interested in copywriting. But the fact of the matter is, the way I write a script or the way I deliver a script is completely different to how I would write a blog post even, or how I would write an ad. So I would actually like to go into potentially ads, how I would write them at some point, like an actual advert. But yeah, today is going to be about delivery, and I'm struggling on how to teach this because it's something that I feel naturally able to do. It's just, I think it's like when I got into digital marketing and advertising as a solopreneur, so I'm delivering the message, I'm promoting the product that I'm the talking head of the advert. It suited me really well for my skill sets. So I think it'd be really unfair for me to say anyone can do this. This is how you deliver a message. I learned how to do it. I was once struggling. If I had an advert spiel, it'd be like, I was terrified of speaking on stage and I couldn't do that. And that's just not true. I was always really excited to get in front of the camera. And so it's going to be difficult for me to teach these skills because they're skills that I have. However, I will sort of go through my processes on how I overcome maybe a bit of coolness, or clunkiness if I was put on camera, and also how I want to talk about some ideas on how you could deliver an ad as someone who's not a natural speaking person or a natural speaker, a natural orator. And I think that's probably a really good way to describe me. I'd probably say above writing, I'm a natural orator, although that has some setbacks because I'm very waffly. So an example of this, I'm currently, so my advert that I'm running at the moment, I've got a few, and there's a different format as well. I'm just going to quickly list those formats because otherwise I'll forget them. Well, now probably just, I'll remember them. One of them is like, it is a talking head advert where I turned the camera on. It was very off the cuff and I just sort of spoke my message through. And what I did was I used my Launchable framework. I used the intro, relatable, tangible, legitimate, conclusion. I used those things as kind of sort of a North Star and a little vague path to follow, which brought me back to various CTAs, and it just kept me sort of congruent or concise at least, so I moved through it. But I had this transcribed because on the YouTube Mastery program that I'm doing with Dan Holloway, which is like an intense 3-month group coaching, ad scripting, and campaign coaching course. We're getting to the stage where we're creating these long ads. And they're talking and they're going over the topics and they're really coming at it from different perspectives to be launchable, kind of like my Jobsolete ad. But it's when the better copywriting is when it's stripped down. And so I basically transcribed my advert that's doing well, which I consider launchable. It's, the lighting's not great and my outfit's like, I'm wearing a bright pink jumper, which I sort of say is like, it's like the danger color. It's like not the best one to choose, and all the lighting's off and all that stuff. But the actual script, when I transcribed it, was 1,050 words, and that's not good copywriting. And I've rewritten it to be 487 words at the moment. I need to add about maybe 200 on, so that's like a third off on the script that I would write. Anyway, so the point of that is that talking it through, you get waffly and you get lots of words and stuff like that, which is part of my natural delivery. But if I was to write something, it would be slightly different. So that's just something to sort of talk about. My first method of delivery, which works best for me, and it works best for me in terms of launchable, but there's advanced delivery methods. Not that this isn't advanced, because again, like if you get the conversions and the metrics that you want from a waffly, long, natural spoken, off the cuff delivery, then that's just fine, especially for where we're at in marketing in our businesses. Whoever's watching this will be a solopreneur getting their message across, and they're not going to have the full force of a marketing department behind them. So I like this first method, which is, I suppose I'd call it the waffly talking off the cuff ad, if I was supposed to, which doesn't really sell very well. It's the classic launchable structure, although I apply that to everything. And it's just, I would internalize, and I would really question all the angles. So who am I talking to? Maybe not even who I'm talking to. I know everyone talks about avatar, and I'm not saying don't, but I don't really think about that too much. It's just not something I think about, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. And now that I have got this ad and it's working, it's almost given me like this feedback, like, oh, okay, so someone watching this ad will definitely be this kind of person, which means I now know how to talk to them more because I've got this feedback. But I didn't go into it going, who is this person? I kind of just went into it with a problem or a concept, and then I just teased it through. And so the concept of my ad's called Jobsolete. I'm promoting an education platform which teaches people how to get started with kind of an online sales funnel, like if you're a beginner. So I'm promoting that, and the argument that I'm putting forward is that jobs are outdated, inefficient, and oppressive, and you can get technology to do a lot of the work for you, which means that you can feel more fulfilled. You can stop working for someone else in an oppressive sort of system, and you can actually just welcome yourself into the 21st century. Are we in the 21st? Anyway, whatever. So that's my concept. It's like jobs are outdated, online businesses are relevant and new and better for your life. So I then I'm exploring these concepts live on camera. And the way I do that, and it's obviously you can see what I'm doing now, is I allow myself to think and consider and sort of look away as I'm presenting. I don't have this prescriptive, like this thing in front of me. And the way I see it is like, if you're talking to your friend or you're trying to express something you really care about, you all of a sudden have a lot more ideas and a lot more things. You go, oh yeah, and this thing and this thing. And you're naturally overcoming objections. And I'm well aware that this might just be a trait of someone who's good at speaking. So I am going to cover alternative methods. But the way I kind of get into that character is I imagine a whole argument that I want to have, and I negotiate and kind of talk to the camera as if there's a problem. I'm helping them understand it from a perspective. And as soon as I say something, I'm like, yeah, it's going to give them this impression, so they're going to have this objection. And so I start going through it. It's kind of like what I'm doing on these calls here. And it's particularly why I'm doing these calls and these lives, is because I like to problem solve on the spot, and I like to do that through talking around the subject. So I guess if you want to go down the path of off the cuff, waffly, exploring a concept, then all you'd have to do is look at what I'm doing right now. I don't think what I'm doing right now comes across as contrived. I don't think it comes across as scripted. I don't think it comes across as like cool. I think it comes across like she's actually thinking on the spot about what she's talking about, and she's genuinely in this. That's what I hope, at least, is the impression I'm giving. And so that's what you kind of, if you want to go down that route. And I think that really beats the route of like, let's script out this, I've given you the 5-step process, that's fine. And if anyone's watching on YouTube, there'll be a link under this video where you can look at the YouTube Mastery Program, and you can also look at the 5-step process in more detail. But I don't particularly use that 5-step process. I just think of it as I'm going through. So I think this particular method of just delivering and really connecting with the message and thinking about what you're saying and why it's important and what they're going to think in response is far better for so many reasons. One, I think it creates an energy where someone can get sort of sucked in and sort of like go, ooh, like it's like it breaks down the barriers that technology creates for us. It's almost as if the computer's not there and someone can really feel connected to that person. Additionally, I think that the real sort of truth and the value, and I've seen this so much with my clients, and I see this with people I work with, when you let go of, I don't know, a storyline or a sort of strategy, the best stuff comes out. So like the best lines, I just find that's way better, honestly, for just getting the goods out. I find that you can access them a bit better once you let all the sort of fluff go. However, the problem with that, I find, is that, which is the whole purpose that Launchable even exists, is that people then go way into the message, the pains, the problems, and they don't talk enough about the product. And I'm still seeing this even with Launchable. It's just not enough to talk about the product, just talk about it. You have to really analyze how it solves the problem. So that's kind of what I'm doing with my waffling. I'm like really analyzing the mechanics of it. And that's what I mean by the tangible. It's like, so for instance, this is like a deodorant myself and Dan are releasing soon, Dan Holloway. And it's made of bamboo. It's like, well, the case is. And like what I want to do is I want to like pull it apart and say like, oh, here's how it works. You get like a tube thing with deodorant in it. It actually comes with a lid, and you see like I'm pulling it apart and I'm showing it, and I think this is like really valuable. If you're promoting a digital product, you can still show screen shares or like really show what it's going to do, and in relationship to the problem as well. So then, whatever, it's got a lid and you just pop it in here, and it's got a lip that stops it, and then you pop that on, and what happens is my one's broken, so it's not going to work. but there's a little hole in the bottom. So I push that through and then the deodorant comes up. Now this bit's broken, so on my one, so it doesn't actually work that way. But that's the idea. So then you have, and you understand all the mechanics of it. So that's the point that I want to make with the tangible section is that you just pull everything apart and then throw it out there. And if you're going to do that live, you just want to sort of like say, so for instance, let's say you're also promoting the digital business, it's not a digital business, it's education and a platform that enables you to kind of build a plane whilst you're flying it, and the plane is a business. And it's the benefit of this is that it's not, you're building a plane rather than a bicycle. That's the idea. Like the business has so much more leverage than what your job has. The business is a plane, the bicycle is your job. So it's this idea, like it's this, the actual platform that I promote teaches you how to set up all the technology needed to have a business that is more leveraged than your job. That's what I sort of promote. And so I've connected I haven't just said, here's like education that's going to teach you how to create an automated income, or here's how you build a sales funnel, or here's how you build a business, and this is great because if you don't want a job. I've gone like, well, these are the benefits of it. It's like there's a better, having a business is more, with what's going on in today's technology, more efficient, more leveraged, more lifestyle friendly than a job. And here's this platform that I'm promoting, provides you with the education and a springboard of which you can do that. And it is kind of like building a plane while you're still flying it. So I've really pulled apart these parts. Anyway, so that's what the tangible section is. So once I'm doing the waffly, off the cuff spoken thing, I think you've just seen me do it. That's what I would probably put in an advert if I was, not promoting a lead magnet or whatever. So I kind of talk about it. I try and explore it from different angles, and I use my structure, which would be, intro, relatable, tangible, legitimate, conclusion, to keep me staying on track, because most affiliates who are promoting this, they get very, very hooked in the message. So that's where the drawback is of having a sort of off the cuff ad, is that it's hard to sort of stay connected to the point of your message. So that's what my way of doing that is to have these loose checkpoints in my head, and then I can like bring it back round to these checkpoints, and I trust myself to fill in the gaps as I go along. That's essentially what it is, how I do my sort of off the cuff ad. One of the members of YouTube Mastery really took this on recently. They've scripted their ad. They did, the first process is scripting, is learning of the process, is learning the product and all this stuff. And they delivered it, and they still had quite a good delivery on camera. When they delivered it, they delivered a script well, and there's nothing wrong with that as well. I sort of like have been looking at ads recently on YouTube where I'm like, this is a terrible delivery style. So for instance, this isn't true, but like HelloFresh have got these adverts right now, and someone is very clearly saying a script, like it's an acting thing. And also there's an ad at the moment called Aribi, and I think the person presenting it is probably a marketer. She's also talking off a script. It's also very scripted. So it's like, there's nothing wrong with saying a script, but the script has to be very good. That's the problem with that. So she delivered this script really well. And we spoke to her about going, don't force yourself to like stare at the camera when you're delivering your script. You can think whilst you're going through it. You can and there's something like nice to know that someone's actually there. I've spoken about this in previous messages. Like, we like signs of life. I think that's what the waffly off the cuff advert enables, is this like sign of life. There's someone actually in there, and it's not like this like robotic script. And when this member came back with her revised video, she's looking off, she's thinking about the things she's saying. Even though it's a script, it just felt like she was so much more connected to it. And so I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed seeing her like looking off to the side while she's talking, and she's not pondering or anything, but she's considering it. And it's like, you care about this. And it felt quite, when I was watching it, I felt reassured. I felt like, yeah, she's someone I can trust. So that's something to sort of like look at. And there's this sort of like, I suppose you can have this half scripted, half fluent, just delivery of the message. So someone that's on the call today, John Thwaites, his ad is totally scripted, but it's got fantastic delivery style. It just did really well. And John delivers it in a way where it feels like it's not scripted as well. I feel like John might have this sort of like combination where he's like, it's scripted, but he's really thinking, this is what I get the impression of at least, he's really thinking about the implications of the words he's saying, and he's connected to them at the time of delivery. That's what I feel as anyway. And there's sometimes when I watch ads within my groups and stuff, and within my programs, where I'm thinking, is that actually scripted? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, you did a great job. It doesn't feel scripted, it feels real. So that's more moving into the like, here's your script, let's deliver it out. Now, what I found is the problem with that method, which is here's your script and deliver it out. When I'm writing or when I'm producing a script, I kind of write the way I speak, and I'm covering so many different angles, and I'm like coming at it from lots of different ways. And I'm fortunate in the fact that I'm congruent. I've been doing this for a while. I've been teaching people. So I'm not a beginner by any means when it comes to scripting an ad. But what I find is that people that are beginners, they kind of follow suit in that it gets waffly and big and long, but it doesn't really ever get as deep as it needs to get. And it doesn't necessarily, and it has like phrase everywhere. Like, if I always think about my friend's hair, if she gets layers and I plait it, she's got all these little wispy bits coming out. She's got the phrase or whatever. So that's what I tend to see in ads that are scripted within my sort of community. And this is like, just people that are promoting products. So they're not these huge marketing departments. And so the scripts tend to be long, and they have lots of frayed edges, and they're not deep enough. And so the delivery of the script it's long, and it's not significant. There's not a huge amount of significance reached. And that's a fault with the scripting. And I'm so bad at this myself. I'll help sometimes with it, with an ad, I'm like all the things, and then the delivery, I'm like, right, we need to cut loads of this stuff out. And I don't think I need to, within my long waffly ad that's off the cuff, I don't think I need to cut anything out. I'm like, it's good, it's converting really well, but it's because I'm connecting to all the words that I'm saying. But if you've got this long script of 1,000 words, which is how long mine was, it's unlikely that you're going to know that the way you deliver it isn't going to emphasize one specific point as well as you've emphasized other specific points. So the delivery of it, you cannot guarantee you're going to have, unless you really, really practice it and really internalize it and turn on those acting skills, you can't really guarantee that the way you read it is going to be the way you say it or the way people perceive it. So there's a few different layers going on there. And that's when brevity is super important. So I think, like, for me, I think the first step, which I would like to teach, or at least encourage, is the waffly, off the cuff message. And that does not mean it's not thought through. It means that it's very thought through, it's considered, it's internalized, it's absorbed, and it's like it's imagined, and that it's said in line with the benchmarks of the launchable script structure, where it's the intro, relatable section, tangible section, legitimate section, conclusion. I think that is, for me, the definition of a launchable ad, where that is how it's presented. And I would really love to help people get to that specific point. But after that, I think we've then got, well, this is kind of, I'm playing with this with Dan Holloway as well. It's like, is it after that? And we've got conversions, we've got sales, we've got good metrics. Is that enough to scale? Like, we don't, well, I mean, the bar ad from Dan was definitely good enough to scale, but is it good for like, I don't know, would it be good enough for Andrex or like big, I always think of the puppies, so I'm like, probably not. Like, is it good enough for really, really big scaling? And it's like, probably, I don't know, who knows, it's hard to tell. But the next step for me in where would be, I guess, elevatable. There's launchable, which can do the job, especially for like solopreneurs just starting out in this. But if you really want to like get further into it, the next thing I'm playing with is, I guess, scalable, but that sounds really rubbish, is like elevatable. And that is the opposite process of step one. And it's like, it's pulling everything out. It's like anything that isn't contributing to not just the script, anything that's not contributing to the point. And so that's really hard, because you have to then, the second step to get a really good delivery is to have it concise, so that you don't. So here's the problem I'm combating with this, is when your script is really long, and even if it's really well thought out and really well structured, if it's the way you deliver it will not necessarily hit home. And the easiest way to hit home with your message is to cut away anything that isn't like sharp, right? You have to find the hidden gem, and there'll be some poignance in there, hopefully, which is what you really want to showcase. And that's stage 2. I think that's post-launchable. Haven't decided what it's called yet. And so, like I said, like my launchable ad, I've tested it. The concept works. People are buying. I've got good metrics in both my global campaigns and in my first world campaigns. It's going well. So I've tested the concept. Now I want to emphasize that thing, which means it takes way less than 1,000 words. And so I've looked at it. So it's 1,051 words. And so far I've written 2/3 of it. I've done the intro, relatable, tangible section. And so all that's missing is the legitimate section and the conclusion, and it's 400 words before I've even edited it. That's my first draft of the first 3 sections is 487 words. So I think it's fair for me to assume that by the time I'm done with it, it shouldn't be like more than 650. I imagine I could probably get it to 600, and that's what I want to aim for. And I reckon I can cover every basis. I reckon I can relate to them, I can talk about the product, and I can show them evidence based on the launchable structure, like proof that it's legitimate in that space, which maybe I can even give myself a challenge to do it in 500. I can see what I can do. And that's like nearly half the length of my waffly ad. But that's a different skill set, and that is actually copywriting. It's not presentation or sales or like negotiating with an idea. It's a completely different skill set. But that for me is the next step, is getting all the juice out. And then what that means is that I don't need to worry about so much about how I deliver it, because the writing itself emphasizes the points in the right way. So that's another thing to take into consideration. So that's step 1. I think the first step of Launchable is to get the off-the-cuff ad version out. And it's tough. It's tough because some people might just not have that. I think most people do have that, because people talk. Like, that's what we do. We try and get our point across. So I guess it's just, it's like argument training. That's what I would guess it would be, is like teaching you how to present this particular argument. And you have to figure out what the argument is in advance, obviously, which would be the research and the messaging and avatar sort of side. And so then it's kind of comes to this point as well. It's like, well, okay, there's two ads in that, 2 delivery styles in that. Both of them are talking heads. One of them is what I think the real launchable version is. The next one is copywriting, spoken copywriting. And again, it's all I'd say it's very talking head, camera on you. This is me saying it. Maybe it's like got the teleprompter going on. And the next stage, which is something that I've been playing with, as I was inadvertently playing with, I suppose. Actually, Okay, so the next stage I would say is actually acting, right? And we've got all the tech. The amount of technology in your phone is the same amount of tech, is more advanced than the same stuff that got the man on the moon in the 60s. Like, we've got enough tech now to like really run a good ad. And so I've got two. Have I got three? I've got three ads running, which utilize the acting model. One is called While Making Money, which for some people within my community and on the Zoom call, they'll know is with my good friend Danny. And we simmered down. And the point of this is that, like, I guess you want to try and use scenarios to demonstrate your point. And so for myself and Danny, with the product that we're affiliated with, the benefit we see is creating a passive income. And so we want to show and the main thing is, like, how do people experience those benefits? And so we're like, okay, well, they would be doing lots of stuff, right? Doing lots of stuff without worrying about money. And we've both got this sort of like, we like humor as well. So we decided to make it funny. For anyone who's in the ad lab, I would recommend, I'm sure I've uploaded it, maybe search While Making Money in the group. If not, that's going to be on my list of things to do to put the While Making Money ad up. And so what we did in the end was we came up with all these scenarios. So Danny's the guy he's basically earning a passive income. And he's technophobe. We've kind of decided that's his character. And what's he doing with his time? He's doing all this stupid, ridiculous stuff, like watering his driveway. He's like, well, I've got, my money's dealt with. I can water my driveway. It's like, what else are you doing? It's like, I'm watching grass grow. Because it's like one of these things, like, if you've got all your money sorted out, you can just do all sorts of ridiculous stuff, like, without worrying about anything. So that's kind of the scenes that we played out. Like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just doing this ridiculous thing because I don't have to worry about my money. So that's one thing. And so we used scenarios to demonstrate the benefit, right? We actually acted out these scenarios. And another one I did was, which right now is getting me very, very cheap, cost per lead, but it's remarketing because it's very short. So I did this argument with social media, basically. Like, I'm typing away and then all of a sudden a post pops up and it's like, you should start an online business. And so I'm playing two roles where I'm the person trying to get on with my life, working, and then social media is shouting at me like, you should start an online business. And I'm like, oh, well, you would say that. You say that to everything. And so I'm having this little sort of argument with this. Now, the problem, this was like, it's so short. It's like, I got it down to like 30 seconds, something like that. And there's only there's a tiny call to action in there. It kind of follows. I don't think it does actually follow the Launchable structure, but it was a completely different sort of like method of delivery. It's getting so all the way through the funnel, it's getting really high. So like I've got the landing page, thank you page, the webinar landing page, a webinar thank you page, and then from that they're in the company that I promote, sales funnel, the mentors platform. So they then deal with that. So what I really want to do with my campaigns is I really want to get a high percentage of conversions onto the webinar thank you page, because that's as far as I've got. I can control them up until that point, or control, but I can have influence up until that point, and by that time they're off in the ether. So this advert, it really surprised me because it provides the least amount of context, no waffle. It is down to the bare bones, so short, and I'm getting the most amount of webinar registrations, not necessarily like the highest conversions everywhere else, but the most amount of webinar registrations. That to me says like that it's doing something good. But that's a version of acting, I suppose. But what I'm doing is I'm picking on concepts, and that was a completely different form of acting as well. I kind of like this idea of an anti-ad, right? So it's not really advertising it, but because you're not advertising it, and you are advertising it, they kind of trust you because you're making fun of it. It's like a postmodern sort of breaking the fourth wall type thing. And so I'm going, go away, social media, stop telling me to start an online business. But I'm hoping it will have like a sort of reaction where people are like, she's funny, she's selling to me, but I'm okay with that. So that's the way I've achieved that. And I think you can achieve that irony in all the other formats. But this is just, so this is just my idea of Format 3 is acting. But again, that is also dependent on copywriting, because you want to make sure that you have to entertain. If you're acting, you're charged with the responsibility of entertaining them. You're trying to keep them happy, and you're selling to them. So you've got to make it really entertaining and engaging, or like at least gripping. Plus, you've got to be salesy. So if you're doing an explaining thing, you don't have to necessarily be pressured into being super interesting. You can make mistakes. You can, there's more flexibility with being a presenter and just a talker, because you're just sharing an idea. But if you're like, so it's the difference. Me doing this right now, I've given myself the flexibility to not always be super interesting or on point. But if this was a comedy show, I would have a way bigger responsibility to get you on my side. And so it's a little bit of a more challenging method of delivery than what needs to happen when you're just starting out in marketing. Again, so I'm going to reiterate, I think the first form is the best form for me, because flexible yet informative. And I think that's the main thing. You just want to educate your viewers, your audience, on what you're promoting and why it's great. That's it. And if you can, you shouldn't need a script to tell someone why something's good, right? Can you imagine like telling your family or telling your friends, oh, let me just refer to my script. You shouldn't need a script to tell someone that something's great. You should just be able to say, I love this because of this. This is great. Like, this has helped me this way. This has helped me this way. It's helped other people this way. You should be able to do that. And so I think a lot of people are looking at the advertising the wrong way. Rather than like talking about something that's great for your life, they kind of think that they have to be an advertiser. And I think step one is just going, just talk about why it's great. And if you don't know why it's great, you shouldn't be promoting it. You're putting your money into it. Learn it. I think one of the things that makes me really competent, thank God, I don't know how I didn't get shiny object syndrome, is that I've been, in this particular business or promoting this particular product for years now, and I've been working with people for years. And I was hired into the company as a copywriter, and I've worked with clients. I'm very, very intertwined in this, so I know it from so many different angles. So it gives me that sort of ability to talk about it. So if you're wondering why you're not able to really just fluently to speak about it, then consider the fact that you haven't learned enough about it. That's something to really consider. So the next step, so we've got the 3 forms, and there's a similarity between all these 3 forms. One is the talking head, sort of waffly, rambling, getting to the point that's quite long. My one came out at 1,050 words. Just that one. I'm sure I've got ones that are longer than that. And then you've got the scripted one, which you kind of have to make sure the script is really good and succinct. Then you've got the acting one. Again, the script needs to be even shorter. So the one that I've got is a remarketing ad. The short one didn't work super well on just a normal ad. And another one I've got is, which I'm running with Danny, is a normal ad, and it's 1 minute 30, something like that, and it covers everything. Like my advert where I'm talking and waffling is 5 minutes and 35 seconds. Can you believe that? On an advert, and I'm paying people to watch that. Whereas my advert with Danny, where it's entertaining, is 1 minute and 30. So just something to consider. If you can get your message down to a really small amount of words, and that's the sort of type of editing and copywriting skill that is good for scripts, I think. So there's the acting, there's the talking head, and there's the script. The thing these all have in common is you speaking, right? And I had to, when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about today, I was like, that's really unfair for someone who doesn't want to speak or doesn't want to act or doesn't want to present. And I was like, well, how do I help people create a launchable ad if that's who they are? Like if you're someone who doesn't want to act. So I've kind of thought of some suggestions of some ways of compensating this. So one way that I've played with before, which is actually where the inspiration for the bar ad came from. Dan and me were, it was actually the weekend Dan and me met. we were playing with this sort of idea, and then it was like this interview style ad. Now the problem, myself and Dan worked together on some interview style ads last year, and we really struggled because I've come to realize I cannot make him say what I want him to say. I'm sending him all these like signals, like say this, and he's not saying it, and he's like going, I can't read your mind, what do you want me to say? I'm like, I can't tell you what to say because then it'll be a script, just say the right things. It's I think it's classic man woman sort of dispute going on there. And this is when he ended up doing the off the cuff Old Spice advert, which is going to be in the Scrap the 9 to 5 group if anyone wants to see him pretending he's a rather handsome football player on a horse and on a boat, and he's, anyway, whatever. So that style is this interview style. I'm going to ask you questions and you're going to relay back to me. Now, the drawbacks with this, when I worked with Dan, was that he was trying to anticipate what I wanted him to say, but really I just wanted him to talk, and just like I wanted to get that. What I wanted to do was get him to access the launchable kind of talking head thing, but whilst talking to me, to explain to me everything that's going on. But he was like, you know how this works. Why are you asking me this? I'm like, they don't, on the camera, they don't know, so I'm asking on their behalf. It was very hard work. So there's that drawback with that. So it's like, you don't just set up a camera for an interview and have a script. You have to allow for like ad-libbing. And so, what was I going to say? Yeah, so the best I have seen this executed is the Mind Valley adverts. So if anyone wants to check those out, the Mind Valley adverts are like, Vishan is he's promoting courses, I suppose, that people are doing, and the editing is all in the editing in interviews. That's the thing. So if you consider yourself like a good interviewer, then literally just I would put on ask yourself like 10 or 12 questions, put a camera rolling, and just answer them in depth. And then there might be a point where you'll just say, oh wow, that was really compelling, like what an interesting part of this script. Something to sort of share with everyone here is that within my YouTube analytics for these lectures that I'm doing, YouTube is showing me where there's continuous segments. So people are not dropping off between this minute and this minute. And sometimes they're quite like significant. They're quite long. They're like 12 minutes. Like people are just not dropping off, because it must be when I've just got into my stride and I'm being like really easy to listen to. And you might have noticed even watching this, you're like, sometimes you're like, where is she going with this? I'm bored, like, is this over yet? Versus times you're like, oh, she's really gripping right now. I'm really interested, I'm invested, I'm sold on what she's saying. And so what you kind of want to do is you want to give yourself this the ability to naturally flow into that gripping place, but it just doesn't come without all the other rambling fluff, I don't think. It's like, and if it did, then every single minute of my hour-long lecture would be gripping. And as much as I have a high opinion of myself, it's not that high. So I think looking at the Mind Valley ads, this is kind of what Vishan does, is just asking them questions. There's probably like an hour. They probably create hours of content. And there'll be a point where the presenter will just talk very much about like, or just make some really important points. And he's like, right, great. We're going to use that. And the way they made the important points will sound very non-scripted, very honest. So it's like he'll help them tap into an authentic communication style that's talking about their product in a genuine way. So that's kind of what I like with the interview style ads. So you can get someone to ask you questions. I've tried to do a Zoom ad before. Again, we sort of struggled because I couldn't really control the way his mind works. But yeah, so that like the interview style is a really good one as well to deliver a natural message. And on top of that as well, I've got this. I think for people that just cannot, well, firstly, you can hire someone as well. I think on Fiverr, you can give someone your script. You can tell them to learn it. You can say, can you just make this sound great? And someone will probably do it for you. Well, I've even considered doing it myself sometimes. I've done a few adverts. So I did an advert for a co-working space in Bristol, and they wanted me to like write it or something like that. And I was just like, I'm not as good at writing ads as I am at saying them. So eventually I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to do the ad myself. And I sort of like ran around this co-working space and delivered the advert, and it was great success. And I was like, that's what I should just do. I should just present messages. And I know there'll be more people that are going to be like that. And those are starving artists. So they will bite your hand off for a job. I promise you. So if you're someone who feels like you can't deliver a message really well, this is when we start getting into budgets. I know it's going to cost money, but there will be people, maybe you even know someone around you, that just natural salesperson who can just share the message and just say it really gracefully and from lots of different perspectives. You can speak to them about it and just ask them to be the face of your ad. And maybe you can say to them a revenue share or something like that. If you haven't got the money to give them the budget up front, you can just, come up with, help someone else do it for you. You do not have to be the only person to deliver your message. You just need to deliver the message. That's the main thing. So that's one solution as well. And the final solution I want to give, and this is just a tactic. So I sort of said this before, like for me, strategy trumps tactics the whole way. Like, so I get people saying like, oh, do I talk in the first person or the second person? Or do I say it like this? It's just like, it's irrelevant, because it's kind of like saying, shall I, like, you've got a bow and arrow and you go with the arrow, should I shave the point a little bit more so it spins in the wind? It's like, you don't even know where your target is. What's the point? Fine, yeah, it might spin in the wind, but what if your target needs you to not spin in the wind? Or like, if you rip some feathers off, like you can't anticipate tactics until you have your strategy. And you're just way better off like figuring out where the target is and then orchestrating the tactics towards that. Anyway, so the point I'm making with that is that this next suggestion is actually a tactic. So it will not compensate for a bad script, and it does require good copywriting. But I like the idea of cards. Have you seen those adverts where someone's just holding cards and it's got writing on them, and you just drop a card down, you drop a card down, you drop a card down? I think they're quite engaging. And that's just a tactic of, I guess the wider strategy is like reading, if someone can read the ad. So it doesn't really depend on a strong vocal delivery. So it's any kind of delivery that doesn't depend on you speaking. If you're someone who isn't great at orating, you say it something like that, whatever, like, verbalizing the message, then something like just filming you taking the cards and just letting that strip down. And I think those are quite engaging ads, and there's something quite endearing and connecting about it, right? So that's another strategy or suggestion, is that I want to help people deliver ads that might not be the best at delivering ads. And it's very hard for me. It kind of makes me feel a bit like fraudulent to be like, oh, here, let me teach you the strategies of delivering a great ad, because I'm like, God, yeah, okay, well, it's all right for you to say, Caroline, you're fine at saying things off the cuff. You've learned this product inside out. It's like, okay, well, why should anyone listen to me? It's like, why would you get training advice from Olympic gold medalists? Like, they're not going to teach you how to jump out. And I'm not saying I'm an Olympic gold medalist, but they're not going to teach you how to do that. There's a certain amount of like luck or skill involved that people just come straight into the game with. That makes me a bit stressed, because I'm like, how do I teach someone something that I was sort of born able to do? And so more, I think, is helping come up with ideas that compensate for the things that are preventing us from moving forwards. And if in terms of ads, I think that I'm capable of helping these people in this area, because I can understand what makes a good ad. Maybe because it comes naturally to me, I'm not sure. But I understand what makes a compelling message, which probably is why I'm able to deliver it quite well. And so therefore I can teach at least what makes a message really compelling, and whether an ad is good or launchable or not. And I know that it doesn't need to be shiny and perfect and pristine and amazing edited to get results. I know that because I've seen it in my own results. But at the same time, how do you teach that? And I think it's just by giving a variety of methods. And so that's kind of what I've aimed to do today, is go, here's some methods. My favorite, or at least the one I use the most, is the waffly talking head one, because I actually get bored of editing. I get bored with editing. I get bored with refining. I'm like someone who like, and this is why I do these lectures, I just want to go, let's do it. Let's do it. I'll look at it. I'll say, nah, that's terrible. Won't ever see that piece of content or video again. Or I'll go, that's decent. Let's chuck it out. And that's why I love the affiliate marketing model as well, because it really plays to my strengths, because I have a very short attention span. I don't like prep. I don't like editing. I don't like all of that stuff. So I can just go, okay, let's chuck this out. And then obviously the way that AdWords works in the background, it does that. It just does all that stuff for me. So I kind of, it's very like, yeah, it's very automated for me. It's very, very great. It's a great model for me. Anyone watching on YouTube, there will be a link below this if you want to learn those skills yourself. But in terms of the ad, final note to say is that, and specifically because I know that people watching this are most likely going to be people from my community at the moment. I'm starting to get quite a few views on YouTube, which is really nice, actually. Kind of some organic views, and it should apply to other advertising people outside of my online community. But for me, one of the things I'm promoting is how to start the building a plane whilst you're driving it business model thing, which is like the affiliate marketing model, which you can automate to earn a passive income, as I've said. But the idea is that you've got the education as well as the sort of the vehicle to start immediately and sort of learn as you go. One of the things is like, so I promote that, and a lot of the people that I speak with are promoting that as well. And if you're doing, one of the objections that we overcome with this particular business is that if I can do it, you can do it. It's like the objection is like, is this possible for me? That's what a lot of, in terms of creating an online business or creating a passive income or creating, transforming the way you earn money. A lot of people are like, is this real for me? And how do you think it makes them feel if you've got a pristine advert telling them about your successes? Probably not that great. They're going to think like, yeah, it's okay for you because you're great. But little old me, who's not able to craft an advert or to speak on camera, it's not easy for me to do it the way that it's easy for you to do it. And so I think it's just a tactic where you've got the cards and you're saying like, I am not good at promoting, hence why I'm doing it this way. But this message I want you to hear is that if I can do it, you can do it too. These are the benefits. These are the things that you do need, like the necessities. These are things you don't need. Here's what you can have. This is my journey. I think it's like, it really combats this objection that it's not possible for the average person. And I think at least what I'm promoting, the community that I'm part of, that is the whole point of it, is that I believe personally, and this is something for everyone to take into consideration as well, which is I also put some of my, I guess, achievement to, is that the skills that this platform are teaching are going to revolutionize the way that we earn money, because it's not about freelancing anymore, or it's not about like having to have a job anymore. And it's not even about like when you start a business, you then have to have loads of employees doing all your stuff for you. It's like you have so much power as an individual using technology these days, including how you earn money. And you can use technology to earn you money, which is an insane revolution. So I really believe in the power of the training that comes with what I'm promoting, and I do think it's so important for the average person, like for all people, for normal people to learn if they are entrepreneurial. Now, if you're happy in a job, stick in it, like that's fine, because you'll always be on like an employee type person. But if you're entrepreneurial, these skills are essential and they're going to change the game. So I think it's just like early adoption, like if you just get on board. So what I want to do is I want to help normal people see that it's open to them, like it's available to them, because I think it's going to change the world. And so if you're promoting that as well, promoting it in a way that so it says like you don't have to be a big tech firm or a big business or have a huge marketing budget, or you don't have to be a corporation to reap the rewards of like money that or digital technologies that can earn you money, and that things have been simplified so much so that normal people are able to do it. I think an advert that is kind of representative of that, which means it's rickety, is going to do a way better job. maybe not a way better job, who knows, like that's not really a fair assumption for me to make, but I think it could do a really good job. So that's kind of where I'm leaving it today. A little note for the people in my community, maybe even a little bit of promotion for the affiliate product that I'm promoted with. So there will be links under the YouTube video, and there'll be potentially now, maybe later on down the line, links at least to join some of the programs that I am a part of. Yeah, I'll include all these on YouTube. And there will definitely be a link under this video to download the Launchable script structure. And you'll also be then given instructions on how you can join the Ad Lab, which is my Facebook group. I'm currently running a 10-day ad challenge. So I'd love it if people get into that. I suppose the 10-day ad challenge is you create an ad every day for 10 days. I didn't do it every day for 10 days. I did it I missed a few days here and there. It's not like, it's up to you, basically. You create an ad every day for 10 days, and it's the Launchable version 1. It's the off the cuff, figuring out, using the benchmarks, like here, relate, here's tangible, here's legitimate, and it's an opportunity for you to practice. I think the reason I'm able to, I'm doing okay at the moment is because I think that I've had so much practice. So it's just a free space for you to practice. People give you feedback. I'm trying to give feedback, but I'm pretty busy. But I will be keeping my eye on you in there. And yeah, it's just a way to connect with the Launchable community. And I don't know why there's benefits to that. Maybe there'll be some special offers for members at some point. I don't know. I'm still developing. I'm still building my plane whilst I'm learning how to and flying it all at once. So just stumbling through Launchably right now. But that's the end of the final lecture. I think I'm going to do more calls. There'll be probably another call next week, but it's not necessarily going to be in this format. And yeah, if anyone's interested in, no, I'm not going to say that on YouTube, but I will end the YouTube stream. All the links that you need to ever be around me is going to be in the YouTube stream. So thanks, guys. See you later. All right.